All right. Hi, everyone. I am Lauren Cruz Dow. And when I was thinking about how to share my story with you all today, you would think that it would be easy because it's my story or your story and that it's easy to share, but there's so many pieces to the puzzle and you don't want to miss a piece. And so I typed everything out, so bear with me as I kind of go through my notes with you all tonight. But I know my story like the back of my hand, but as I was sitting on my computer writing out my notes and with my hands on my keyboard just staring at it, I closed my eyes and I instantly thought of the word vision. You see, 8.5 years ago, I thought that I had the right vision, the right purpose, the right calling for my life. Boy, was I completely wrong. And if you would have ever told me over 8.5 years ago that I would be here today speaking to all of you, I would have probably laughed and said you were out of your ever-loving mind. At the time, 8.5 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom dealing with military life and going to college online full-time. Because, well, that's supposedly what you're supposed to do and the only way that you can make money, right? That's the only way that you can financially support your family is with a college degree, right? Wrong. But then I started thinking about our family's future. And what I was looking at was with one military income, it looked pretty bleak. Our service members don't get paid nearly enough for what they do, and especially their families for the sacrifices that they make. And look, I know that tonight I'm not going to be talking about money and all that stuff. And I know that money doesn't make you happy or happier, but it sure makes life a heck of a lot easier and a heck of a lot stressful, right? Y'all feel me? The simple fact is we need money to live, period, right? We need money to survive. We need money to pay for our bills. And I'm not ashamed to state that fact anymore. It's okay to want more money to fulfill your dreams. It's okay to want more money and a better life for your family and to fulfill those desires that you have for your family. It's okay to say that. And anyway, so besides the point, but I had to do something to invest into my family's future. We were living paycheck to paycheck at the time. And the reason I'm saying, there's a caveat to this part before we get into my story, our story, because of where we were financially. We were living paycheck to paycheck at the time with very little wiggle room. We were doing better than we were when we first got married at the time, but Lord, was that tough. Right before I got married at that time, my storage unit that was filled with all of my belongings, all of my furniture that my parents had given me to furnish my apartment was broken into. And 90% of my furniture and belongings were stolen, and whatever they did not steal, they broke. And my husband at the time, he was a single soldier living in the barracks. So he had no furniture, nothing to his name, nothing. We had nothing. And I didn't have a job yet either because I had just moved. So between paying for rent for our new place and all the normal bills and income and all that stuff, all that we could afford was a really nice air mattress that doubled as a couch. So when we woke up in the morning, we would pull our air mattress into the living room and that would be our couch. And we had a small little TV with a DVD player, no cable. So I would just watch DVDs all day long while also looking for a job. A couple months later, his father died of kidney and liver failure. And after his passing, he left behind some of his belongings to us, a queen size bed, a dresser, a table, things like that. But we finally got a couch, but we had to put that on a payment plan because we couldn't afford to just buy it outright. And then we bought a new dining room table, which, by the way, that table was 12 years old before I finally got a brand new table. I just got a brand new table this May when I moved into this house. And honestly, that table was so beat up. It went through 7 moves with the Army. And we could have gotten a table sooner, but it was like it was a piece, a reminder of how far we've come. All the scratches, all the marks, all the chips. And it helped keep me humble and grateful to where God has brought my girls and I today, and how far that we've come through the hardships, all the valleys, to connect at the right time in the right place to bring us to where we are today. When I turned 18 years old, I started working as a nanny full-time to save money and to have a little extra money on the side and whatnot. I didn't have any other skills other than working as a waitress. I babysat all my life. I dropped out of high school my junior year because I kept getting sick. My freshman year alone, I got strep throat 6 times in 1 year until I finally had my tonsils removed. I had constant back-to-back respiratory infections, bronchitis, walking pneumonia. I had typhus fever twice. At least once a month I was sick. So because of that, I was missing too many days in high school, and my parents were told that I would have to be held back because I missed too much. And after having a discussion, they pulled me out of school, and we decided that I would just get my GED test done and get that certification. Y'all, that is the highest certificate of education that I have, is my GED. That's it. I'm just going to say this right now. I'm not saying this with pride, and I'm saying this with the most humble of humble hearts. I make, and please don't take this as a prideful way. The Lord has blessed me to make more money now than my father used to make with a master's degree. And I'm not saying that to boast, because that is not my heart whatsoever. I'm saying it that I don't want you to believe that you are not smart enough. I don't want you to believe that you, just because you lack education, or you are not like that person, or you are not like this person, or you're comparing yourself with other, and you can't do that, and you can't do that. I have a GED. I have a couple of years of college, but I have a GED only. That's it. Nothing more. And to God be the glory. So don't you ever let a lack of education, or you comparing yourself to others, thinking that you're not smart enough or talented enough to do this, to ever stop you from doing this. Don't ever let that stop you. You just need to get out of your own way. I was a nanny for over 5 years. I worked as a nanny until I was 36 weeks pregnant with Kylie, my oldest. She's going to keep barking if I don't open the door. I knew they were going to do this, by the way. I'm really sorry, y'all. But I was a nanny for 5 years. I'm so sorry. For 5 years. And with her, but my heart's desire was not to work. I did not want to continue working. I wanted to be home. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mother with my children, with my family. Financially, though, we were going to have to hardcore budget that to make it even work. I knew, being a nanny for so long, seeing these parents work from 8 to 5 days a week, missing so much with their children's lives, and how much their children missed them and being present with their children. I saw how it affected the family dynamics. And now I didn't want that for my family. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying, please don't take it that way. I'm not saying that all families are like that and all moms need to stay at home. I know that there are some working mamas out there, and high five to you, right? But this was how I felt and what I wanted for my family. So my Young Living story, though, began because of my daughter, Kylie. When Kylie was, and by the way, my dogs are going to bark to get back in here in a second, but when Kylie was 22 months old, she received her 18-month vaccines. We were a little bit behind on her vaccines, and had a horrible, life-threatening reaction. If I get emotional during this story, it's because I can still vividly see that memory in my mind. And so please bear with me as if I cry or whatnot. Now, please, this is not a vaccine debate. Please don't start a debate in the chat or send me some nasty messages on my Instagram or Facebook, please. I'm just here to tell you her story and my story. But 2 days after Kylie had those vaccines, I was dressing her in her pajamas for bedtime when, bear with me, y'all. Come on. I was dressing her in her pajamas for bedtime when I noticed she started looking a little bit off, and she had a grand mal seizure. She started seizing. She blacked out and was completely unresponsive for more minutes than I can count. Her lips, her hands, and her feet turned completely blue. And I picked up her limp body as quickly as I could. I jumped in the car, laid her body over my lap, and I rushed to the hospital. The hospital was only 5 minutes away, and I knew I could get there faster than the ambulance could get to me. I was alone at the time. My husband at the time was away at training for the Army. And so I was alone. When Kylie came conscious again, she wasn't the same Kylie as she was just 20 minutes prior. The words that crossed her lips were no longer mama, but gibberish. It was baby talk. I couldn't understand a word that she was trying to tell me. You could see the fear build up in her eyes as she was trying so desperately and so hard to communicate with me and could no longer do that. And as her mother, I felt incredibly helpless. Why couldn't my little girl talk anymore? Why couldn't she say mama? Why couldn't she say anything? And why couldn't I understand anything? The doctor's response, of course, was, oh, this is a common side effect to a grand mal seizure, and that her speech should return momentarily. Hours went by, days went by, and months went by, and it never came back. Kylie was very far advanced in her speech. So before the vaccine injury, she would milk mama, please. Hi, dada, bye, dada. I want more, please. Thank you, night, dog. The normal vocabulary, but she was incredibly intelligent. But all of that was gone like that. 2 months later, we began speech and OT therapy at 24 months. We went 3 times a week for the next 3 years. But what seemed at the beginning like just her speech was affected, it, however, was not, and it became the least of our concerns. Soon after, our once healthy child started having an array of very odd things. She began what was diagnosed with benign shuddering attacks. Now, benign shuddering attacks are rare and they mimic seizures. And to the child, they feel like seizures, but do not permanently damage the brain. They would happen weekly, sometimes daily, without warning. We started to catch on to what triggered them more: if she was tired, if she didn't get her 14 hours of sleep, if she felt scared or stressed or overwhelmed by strangers. And at one point, we even had to tell waitresses and waiters at restaurants, please don't look at her and please don't talk to her because of the stress that it caused her. I remember going to Olive Garden with my mom one time and Kylie, and I remember she had one when we were in Olive Garden. And she looked at me so scared because she knew it was coming. And I picked her up as fast as I could pick her up. And I remember all the stares that I was getting, holding her so tight as she was just seizing from the top of her head down to her toes. And she was just shaking like this. And I was just holding her and I was just praying. It's the most helpless feeling when you can't do anything to help your child. Doctor said that she would grow out of it, probably around the age of 6 to 8, with a possible occasional one here and there. She was 2.5 when these began. And I'm going to say this because, well, this is her story and this is my story. I've been in Young Living now for over 8 years. And since June of 2018, that was her last shuddering attack, was when she was 5 years old. Not 6, not 7, not 8, 5 years old. And something changed. When we brought in Young Living, something changed. And it's not a coincidence. Her brain was not the only thing that was affected by the vaccines. As most of you know, the brain and the gut are directly linked together. So typically, if something's happening in the brain, something's happening in your gut. So her colon began to be affected. About by the age of 3 is when we started noticing that her bowels began to slow down. Week by week, she started struggling more and more to go to the bathroom. Days would go by and days would go by without a bowel movement, to the point where it went up to 2 weeks with no bowel movement. Numerous times we were in the hospital due to severe constipation, air trapped in her stomach, horrible chest pain, severe bloating, and then to the point of vomiting. Nothing was moving out. They ended up having to put NG tubes down her nose, into her stomach, and started pumping adult laxatives into her stomach. After 3 bags of laxatives and an enema, she finally went. After a CT scan and ultrasound, the radiologist at Cook's Children's Hospital in Fort Worth reviewed them. And in his words, he said, "I have never seen a 3-year-old with such a backed up and stagnant colon. The muscles of her colon are just not contracting to move the stool down. They are extremely sluggish and barely moving, and they are not working the way that they should." I said, "Okay, so what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do to get them better? What are we going to do to get them moving again?" And he said, the only thing that's going to help her go to the bathroom is for her to continue on the laxatives and stool softeners every single day. You cannot heal this. There is no way to heal this. She just has a lazy colon. And you're just going to have to keep her stools as loose as possible for her to be able to go. And I said, "I'm sorry, what? You mean you're good that I need to make my daughter have diarrhea every single day?" And his response was, "Yes, pretty much, because her colon is not palpating and moving the firm stool down." Do you know how many accidents she had with diarrhea on those medicines? How embarrassing that was for her? I was in disbelief of what the doctor told me. How can this be the only way? What more can happen to her little body from these vaccines? I kept thinking about that moment when she was 22 months and holding her body. But what a miracle she was to even still be alive. And so because God saved her life, I was going to do everything in my power to fight for her and to make sure that she would not have to live this way for the rest of her life, because God saved her and gave us a second chance. And she wasn't another SIDS victim. So my mother and I began to massively pray and to massively research everything that we could do to heal her. My mother researched the medication that she was on in depth, and we refused that this was going to be her future. and the battle began. I myself was extremely stressed to the max. I stopped sleeping well. And as to be expected, when anything like this happens to your child, right? I know that Amanda is very well known to this as well with her kid and her experience. And it was when I was driving down Highway 30 in Fort Worth where I experienced my very first panic attack. And after that, the anxiety got so much worse for me. It got to the point where I couldn't even drive myself anymore, if it meant even getting on a highway. My mother had to drive myself and Kylie everywhere that we went. And I was so desperate, I resorted to anxiety medication, in which those medications nearly took my life from this world far too soon. While we were at yet another hospital stay with Kylie, I had been on this anxiety medication now for about 2 weeks. I felt no change in the anxiety that I was experiencing, though they said it could take up to 3 to 4 weeks for anything for me to notice a difference. And while we were dealing with Kylie in the hospital at that time, I started to not feel well. I felt like something was off in my body, that something was wrong. I could feel something strange going on, but I couldn't explain it. But it was like something I had never felt before. Whatever it was, I knew that it was bad. I turned to my mother at the time when she was there in the room, and I said, I need you to call the nurse right now because something's wrong with me, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know what's happening, but you need to call the nurse. The moment that the nurse walked in, my mother said that I passed out, and my body fell towards the nurse, and I started seizing. The nurse called a code blue on me. When I opened my eyes, I could see a crowd of strangers in white coats around me. And I could hear them asking me, "What's your name? Can you tell me what your name is?" In my mind, I was yelling my name, but I couldn't repeat the words from my mouth. My mother said that it looked like I was a patient who had just had a stroke, because she said when I was trying to talk, part of the side of my face was droopy and my lip to one side was droopy. And I kept yelling my name in my head. My name is Lauren. My name is Lauren. And I could not physically say it with my mouth. It was like my brain and my mouth were not connecting. And I finally understood in that moment what Kylie had felt the moment that she lost her speech and how terrifying that she must have been. But why was this happening to me? At first, as fast as that happened, they quickly transported me from the children's hospital across the street to the main hospital where they could treat me. They took my labs and they found that my white blood count was at a 2. You heard that number right. It was at a 2. This is what caused me to have a grand mal seizure. After a couple days in the hospital, my mom called to speak to the doctor because she researched the anxiety medication that I had been taking. And come to find out, a severe side effect of that medication was a decrease in white blood cells. The doctor said that I could have died with a number that low. For days, I didn't have energy to get out of bed. I could barely walk to even go to the bathroom. And after 5 days of being in the hospital, once my white blood count finally came up to about a 9, they released me. To say that my daughter and I needed a miracle from the Lord is an understatement. To say that I was desperate and I was willing to try anything and everything, no matter how crazy it sounded, is an understatement. My life was almost taken from me, but as God saved my daughter's life, so did he save mine. And I knew something had to change. I knew that if I kept doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results, nothing was going to change, and enough was enough. But our circumstances made it difficult. Between my daughter's health, my health, being a stay-at-home mom, the stress of military life, full-time college on my plate, finances, I felt like the world was closing in. I felt helpless with my daughter's health. I blamed myself for many, many years for allowing her to get vaccines. And I've had to walk through forgiveness of myself for that. But I wanted to make a better life for my family, especially contributing to finances. But without a college degree, only a GED certificate, job opportunities weren't falling in my lap. How many of you have felt that way? And the thing is, that is such an upside down way of thinking, right? You would think that it would be our circumstances, our hardships, our problems. You would think that those would be what fueled us, encouraged us, inspired us, motivated us to make changes, right? You would think that that would be why we wanted to make changes. But instead, we tend to make them our excuses and our reasons not to make changes. And I'm here to tell you right now, that's a victim mentality. And we need to flip that right side up. I've known all my life that my calling and my mission while on this earth was to help children and families. So at the time, I chose a degree in which that would be made possible. Now, I dropped out of college, so I never finished my college degree. But at the time, I chose a degree, child psychology, that would make that possible. So I started working towards that. And little did I know that through all the hardships that my daughter and I had faced would be the catalyst to the very thing that would not only help us, but help other children and families. And through a multi-level marketing company of all things. Crazy, right? Oh, I thought so too. Y'all, I was there. And through Young Living, to be able to help others and show them the importance of removing dangerous toxins from our homes and natural ways to combat everyday issues. There is such a sense of purpose in that. But my home was one of those toxic homes. And as I'm sure all of yours was too, maybe those who are on here and haven't joined Young Living yet, and yours is one of those toxic homes, don't feel guilty. We've all been there, trust me. I mean, why would the government, and I used to think, why would the government allow anything to be sold to us if they're dangerous to our health? Why would they purposefully know and allow cancer-causing, neurological damaging, immune suppressing ingredients into our products to be sold to us, right? There's no way they would allow that. Okay, we know better now, right? I had those Scentsy warmers. I had the harsh chemical filled cleaners. I was completely clueless that many of the symptoms that we were dealing with also were directly linked to these ingredients in these products that we were using every single day. My parents at the time were living with us for a couple of years due to my father having had 2 heart attacks. He had a full hip replacement surgery, numerous back surgeries, and due to those circumstances, he could no longer work, and they could no longer afford to live off of my mother's sole nursing income. My mother has always been on the more holistic path, especially being a nurse. Seeing what she has seen in the 40 years in the medical field, she's always known this is not just a one way. This is not a one treatment fits all, one size fits all. She's always been a more holistic nurse. But surprisingly, we didn't know about essential oils. But when an acquaintance messaged me on Facebook after seeing my numerous posts about Kylie and what was going on with her, she reached out to me and she said, I've been following Kylie's story, and I think I know something that could help with what she has been going through and what's going on. Would you give me 30 minutes of your time if it could possibly benefit your daughter? I mean, what would y'all say? Right? You wouldn't be like, no, I'm not gonna give you 30 minutes. No, you would say, yes, Yes, I will give you all day if you tell me it's going to help my daughter. I will try anything and everything at this point, right? I will give you hours upon hours if you think that it will help my daughter. I'm going to rewind really quick because I want you to know how God ordained and aligned this very moment of her reaching out to me was, because he deserves all the praise and glory for it. When I was 13 weeks pregnant with Kylie, we came back home for Christmas to celebrate with our family to Texas. And while we were there, we were invited to a Christmas party. Well, that was when I met my enroller. We friended each other on Facebook during that time. And that was the last time we spoke for 4 years. 4 years. That was the last time we spoke for 4 years, until she messaged me on Facebook about Kylie and about meeting her for 30 minutes. Well, at the time, the Army had just moved us back to Fort Worth, and which she too lived in the Fort Worth area. So when she reached out to me on Facebook, she asked me, hey, I would like to meet up and talk. And I was so desperate. I said, I'm free now. Like, yes, let's meet up right now. And she said, okay, well, where do you live? I'll come over. And I said, I gave her the address of my street, and she said, no way. That's really where you live? And I said, yes. Why? Is it a bad neighborhood? And she was like, Lauren, I live on the same street from you, literally 20 seconds away from you. 20 seconds. And she was like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, out of everywhere in Dallas, Fort Worth that she could live, that we could have moved to, she lived on the same street that I did. And she was there in 5 minutes. Only God. There is no other explanation. Only God. For us to have met at that Christmas party when I was 13 weeks pregnant, then fast forward 4 years, and then getting stationed in Fort Worth, and then picking that street and picking a home on that street, only God. So she sat down with us that night. She spoke with my mother, myself, my aunt about Young Living essential oils. And after she finished telling us all about the essential oils and the products and how it could help with my health, with my daughter's health, I was in awe. But do you think that I was able to sign up right away? No, I did not sign up right away. Crazy, right? I know. But isn't that typically what happens to most people? That may even be your story, right? They're excited about it. They want it. They're like, yes, I need it. I know I do. Yes. And then they end up saying, no, not right now. Or no, I can't. Or life gets in the way or whatnot. You know, they need it in their lives. They know they need it in their lives, but then they just don't do it. Maybe it's even happened to you and it took you a long time to finally commit to saying yes. But due to the sole military income, it took me 6 long months and 6 follow-up attempts from her reaching out to me for me to finally attend one of her classes and sign up with a kit. But that was 6 long months of constant relationship building and her reaching out to me, 6 months and 6 follow-ups of her hearing from me, not right now. I can't afford it. It's not going to work. I can't go. I'm busy. I have nobody to take care of Kylie. It's not going to work out. But you know what she saw? She saw a need. She saw and she knew that she had the solution. She knew that I and Kylie needed this and she wasn't going to give up on us. That is what we are. We are solution givers. You are a solution giver. You are a problem solver and you have the answer. I don't overthink or overcomplicate sharing Young Living with others or, close off the whole business aspect, because I believe, why in the world would I keep this to myself? Why would I keep it from my loved ones? Why would I keep this from my friends and the people I love the most? I don't overcomplicate it because it's not complicated. You know that intercom, if you've ever been to an airport, which I assume everyone's been to an airport, but the intercom announcement on the airport that says, I'm going to try to interpret this. If you see something, say something. Y'all know that. And then it goes into like, oh, whatever. But if you see something, say something. Okay. That is my motto for sharing Young Living with others. If I see something, I'm going to say something. She saw a need and she said something. She didn't keep it to herself. She saw something and she said something. And that's it. That's how easy it is. If you see something, say something, because that's what she did for me. That is what she did to me. What if she didn't reach out to me that day? I don't even want to think about it. What if she didn't? What if she got scared and had a fear of rejection, or had a fear of what others may think of her? What if after seeing my post about Kylie, she just kept scrolling? Where would her life be now? Where would my life be now? What if she would have stopped following up with me after the third, fourth, or even the fifth attempt? What if she hadn't reached out on that sixth attempt and gotten me to that class that night? And if I would have known back then what I know now, it would never have taken me 6 months. But that's what I want you to understand about your friends and your family that have told you, no, that's not for me, or no, not right now. They don't know what they don't know, because they haven't experienced this yet. Be patient with them, keep loving on them, keep checking in on them, and don't give up on them. They still need this just as much as they needed it the first 5 times they said to you, not right now. They just don't know it yet, but they will one day. They will. My advice, if you are on this call and you haven't gotten started with Young Living yet, do not ever let it get to the point where you are desperate and willing to try anything. Be proactive in your health, not reactive, right? Our bodies need support every single day, and it's never too late to make that change in your life. We don't have a lot of control in this life, but what we do have control over is what we bring into our homes and what we allow around our family and around our children. And we are the gatekeepers to our homes, and we have that power. The night that I signed up, and I laugh because this is the majority of people, but I looked at my enroller straight in the eye. And if you know me, and you've been following me on Instagram or Facebook, I'm very direct, and I'm a pretty intense person. But I looked at her straight in the eye and I said, I am never doing this as a business. I am never going to host a class, and I am not going to sell anything. And she was like, all right, Lauren, nobody's pulling your arm. You don't have to do it. You just get the discount. And I was like, look, I'm going to be a child psychologist, and that's my plan. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. And well, you see where God was like looking down at me like, yeah, that's not going to happen, Lauren, at all. That's not the plan I have for you. So I got home that night, and my husband at the time was sitting there playing a video game, and he asked, so how'd the meeting go? And I said, oh, great. Yeah, I signed up as a distributor with the kit. It was called a distributor back then because, we got the 24% discount. And his response was, you did what now? Oh, please, Lauren, tell me you are not going to be one of those people, those military wives who sell stuff constantly. Please, no. And I said, no. I'm not going to be one of those people. You all know who I'm talking about, right? We all know those people. We've all thought about it. I can't be the only one, right? Don't make me feel like I'm the only one who has thought the same thing. We've all heard at least one negative experience with an MLM from your best friend's cousins, mother-in-laws, boyfriend, whatever the case may be. But as we all soon come to find out, Young Living is not like that at all, is it? Not in any way, shape, or form. I had zero intention of ever doing Young Living as a business. And while there are no requirements and pressure to do the business side of Young Living, but it all started with a single Facebook post that I did. And it was just a post about sharing Kylie's testimony and sharing how these oils that I started trying 2 weeks after I got them, and how consistently we were using them, and how much they're changing our lives. And I want to focus in and emphasize the word consistent. Okay. Because if you want to see a change in your health, if you want to see a change in your life, you need to be consistent daily action, right? And I want to compare it to this because I have so many people that say like, oh, well, I tried it once, I didn't see a change. Okay. If you go to the doctor and you get an infection, he gives you an antibiotic and he says, okay, you're gonna be on a 10-day dose, take this antibiotic 3 times a day, and then you take 1 pill out of the 10-day dose. How's that gonna work? Right? It's the same thing. You wouldn't just take 1 pill to see a change. You would finish out the entire course, right? You would take it 3 times a day. So the same thing goes when using Young Living essential oils and using the products, drinking your Ninja Red. It's being consistent in your daily action. Consistency is key. And after 2 weeks of being consistent in using these oils, in drinking Ninja Red, Kylie went to the bathroom by herself without any medication to help her. It was a complete and utter miracle that we were told by doctors would never, ever happen. We use Ninja Red every single day, lemon oil in her water, and Digize. If I have time, I'm definitely going to list her protocol at the very end of this. So be patient and I will get there. So working my way on down. But I will also share the protocol that we used for her brain health and to help her with her speech and how to get her colon properly moving. But if you're following me on Instagram, I also plan on, if you want to use or post or not post, share with people after I'm going to talk about it on my Instagram as well tonight, and the oils and everything that I also used. So, but the oils that I used for Kylie, the oils that I used for anxiety and panic attacks, y'all, Valor gave me my life back. How many of you love Valor? I am obsessed with Valor. Valor gave me my life back. And release oil. So I was putting release oil on. This is one of my favorite oils. I was putting release oil on before I got on here. And release oil and frankincense oil actually helped stop a panic attack for me after my father died a couple of months ago. These oils and products work. I wouldn't talk about them if they didn't. I wouldn't share them if they didn't. They work. And everyone can benefit from them. So I will get on my Instagram later tonight, share them in a highlight. I'll save them to a highlight for future reference if you need to go back to them and whatnot, and or share them with your friends and family if you want to share testimonies to help guide them in that way. But no matter how big or how small, you need to share your testimonies. You need to share your stories with others because others are watching. You don't know who's watching, but they're watching and they're seeing your life change. A lot of people call this business an accidental business, but there are no accidents when it comes to God, are there? With that single post, tons of my friends started commenting and reaching out, sending me messages. Are there oils for this? Are there oils for that? X, Y, Z, whatnot. And all I did was share my story and share Kylie's story. 2 weeks later, I was giving my first class in Houston, barely knowing anything about Young Living. And that is what I want to encourage y'all also tonight on this call. You don't have to know it all to know these products work. You don't have to know it all to share your own testimonies. You don't have to know it all to share and to know that your friends and families need this in their lives just as much as you need this in yours. You don't have to do this as a business to just share with your best friend when she tells you that she's having problems, right? You don't have to do that. But everyone needs Young Living in their lives. Let's see, I have 10 minutes left? Okay, I think I can get through. When we got home from that trip, I realized that I was standing at a crossroad in my life and I had to decide what path I needed to take for my family and what path was the right one. And I was standing in the shower because that's typically a mama's only time alone. I was standing in the shower and I was having an adult temper tantrum with God. Has anyone had an adult temper tantrum with God? I'm sure all of us have. When you're kind of yelling at him, but you're like, please don't smite me. Right? But I was standing in the shower and I was like, is this all you want from me? Like, what do you want me to do with my life? What do you want me to do? Is it just to be one of those multi-level marketing people? Is that really all you want me to do? And I can just imagine, I imagine God just like sitting in his chair, like a parent, having his arms crossed and like looking down on me and just being like, are you done, Lauren? So I can talk? Are you going to, okay, yeah, you done? All right. And as soon as I shut up, and I'm going to say shut up because sometimes, and that's harsh, as soon as I'm quiet, as soon as I closed my mouth and stopped talking, because that's what a lot of us do, right? I'm an overthinker and I question everything and I overthink everything. I tend to overcomplicate things sometimes. So I've been dealing with that for a long time and working on it. But as soon as I was like, be quiet, Lauren, listen, I finally could hear him clearly. And he said to me as clear as day, Lauren, this is not going to be multi-level marketing for you. This is going to be multi-level ministry. And I dropped my hands down to my side and I opened up my hands, just bawling in the shower. And I said, here am I, send me. And I haven't looked back since. This was my calling and this is my mission. This is not multi-level marketing for me. This is multi-level ministry. And I believe with all my heart that we are put here on this earth and this path for a purpose. Don't not share with someone about Young Living because you struggle with fear or you struggle with insecurity or you struggle with rejection. Because here's the thing, what casts out fear? Perfect love, right? Why are you wanting to share Young Living with somebody? Because you care for them, because you love them, because you want better for them. There's no space where fear is even involved in that, right? That stemmed from love, not fear. So don't allow fear to come in and prevent you from sharing with that person. As you can now see, our whole family is in Young Living. My mother, Janet Cruz, is a platinum. My sister-in-law, who's up next, is a platinum. My sister-in-law, Joni, is a gold. My aunt is an executive. My best friends are silvers. And it all started with an acquaintance who met me once at a Christmas party. 13 years ago. She saw a need and met that need with a solution for not just mine and my daughter's health, but also for our financial needs, my parents' financial needs, our whole family's financial needs, my best friend's financial needs. So many breakthroughs have happened. So if you have been waiting to begin your Young Living journey, stop, please stop waiting. Please stop waiting. So whoever invited you here tonight, please reach out to them and tell them yes. Tell them yes. It is your time. It is your moment. And that yes will be one of the best yeses you have ever committed to yourself, your family, your future. And that I can promise you. Don't look back because your past has held you back for far too long. And it's time for you to go from helpless to hopeful. All right. I could go on and on about the testimonies that we have experienced over these 8.5 years. I have 8 minutes. So I'll really quick, scrolling down to Kylie's protocol really quick. And then if you don't have time to write these all down really quick, again, I'll share them on my Instagram tonight. But Kylie's protocol, we did 4 ounces of Ninja Red daily. We did 3 glasses of water with 2 drops lemon oil daily. Dijais, we did 3 to 5 drops topically on her tummy 3 times a day, rubbed clockwise. I just used the rest that were on my hand and I rubbed them on the bottom of her feet and the inner sides of her ankle. Dilute if need be. Dijais if you have sensitive skin, can be a little irritating to the tummy. We did that protocol every day for 2 weeks. I slowly weaned her off her medication over those 2 weeks. I didn't just abruptly stop it. You cannot abruptly stop that medication. It is not safe to do that. And I'm not suggesting that anyone does that. Okay. So we slowly weaned her off. And Y'all, she is 12 and a half years old now. And when she was younger, she doesn't do any. Okay, no, I'll say this. She'll never watch this video. It's totally fine. She clogs the dang toilet now. Okay, it's ridiculous. She clogs the dang toilet all the time. It's so annoying, but a blessing, but annoying. I have to use the plunger all the time for her now, for something that was never going to happen. She clogs the dang toilet all the time. This girl's a pooping machine. And we are proud poop talkers in our family. You got a healthy gut. That means you got a healthy immune system and a healthy mind. Okay, but yes, 2 ounces of Ningxia Red a day. 4 ounces of Ningxia Red a day is what we did. And she was 3 and a half, 4 years old, roundabouts there. We also, of course, gluten-free for her. She was probably 80% dairy-free, but we went gluten-free and almost dairy-free before Young Living even got brought into that process. Let's see, her brain protocol is, so frankincense, anytime before we went to therapy, I would put frankincense on the base of her brain stem. So right back here, numerous times, and then brain power on her temples. Okay. And at the top of her head. So at the very, very top of her head, I put brain power, every single time before we went to therapy. And that helped a lot. As for myself and anxiety, Valor gave me my life back. I huffed and I puffed Valor all day long. Again, you need to be when it comes to anything in life, especially anxiety, you need to be proactive with it. Don't wait until you feel anxious to use your oils. Use them to prevent the anxiousness. Use them to prevent the panic attacks, right? And so I would use that for the first 6 months that I was even in Young Living. All day long, I was just dousing myself with Valor all day. Even if I didn't feel anxious, I would do it because it was working. It was preventing it. Okay. I held it under my nose constantly. And here's why I held it under my nose, because I needed to, what happens, and I have a whole emotional class on my YouTube of the brain pathways and how the brain pathways works, the nervous system and what the essential oils do. But we build bridges in our nervous system of traumas, of memories, of negative experiences, whatnot. We build traumas in our nervous system. You have to bridges down. You have to knock them down. And essential oils help to knock down and rebuild a healthy bridge in your nervous system. Okay. So after my father died in June, unexpectedly, I was with him when he passed. I was the only one in the room with him when he passed. And I came out of that hospital room after he passed, and I went straight into panic attack. My mom grabbed Release, Valor, and frankincense as quick as possible. She rubbed the Release all over my chest and held Valor and frankincense. So Valor on one nostril, frankincense on the other one. And while I was breathing really fast and heavy during the panic attack, but I was breathing those 2 oils in. And within a matter of, I would say, 1 minute, my breathing started to slow down. I started to come back down and feel grounded again. And it stopped that panic attack midway from happening. And now granted, the trauma of my father dying, am I still dealing with anxiety and stuff like that? Of course I am. I will tell you, Release oil though, and Valor, I have been dousing myself with this every single day. In the moment I feel that anxious feeling, the kind of, and if you've ever dealt with anxiety or panic attacks, it's like this pit right here that begins. Your hands start getting tingly, your feet start getting tingly, your skin starts feeling weird, and you're like, okay, you're like, I'm getting anxious. I put this all over my chest, and I put Valor all over my wrists, behind my ears, and I just cover myself with it. And it's been a lifesaver. And I'm so thankful to the Lord that this has changed my family's life forever and ever. And no matter if I did the business or not, I would be a user of Young Living. I'm a lifer, period. I don't even want to imagine life without these products and oils ever. I have get the raindrop oils. big time raindrop oils. Hinoki is a good one. I love myrtle and marjoram. Basil is fantastic. I make a homemade chest rub with all those oils as well. Go into mama, I call it mommy mode. When applying the oils, I apply oils on my kiddos and or on myself every 30 minutes if we are in desperate need. And I do raindrop technique twice a day. No sugar, no dairy, no gluten during viruses as well. Push fluids. And let's see what other oils do I really, really like. Oh, I make a, so I typically don't take, and this is, I'm guilty for this, but I've used this a lot. I typically don't take Inner Defense. I will make my own capsule of oils. I like 4 drops thieves, 4 drops frankincense, 4 drops oregano, and 4 drops thyme in a empty vegetable capsule. And I will take that 5 times a day with food and a large glass of water. And that has worked for me immensely. Yes. Without saying stuff. I love Palo Santo. Palo Santo is fantastic for your chest, by the way. Apply it to your chest and down your spine and on the bottom of your feet. So definitely, obviously, get started with Young Living. Great oils for the mind. Frankincense, sacred frankincense. Brain Power is fantastic. I used Brain Power like it was going out of style for Kylie. I mean, almost daily with her. Brain Power. Honestly, intervention is key. And so therapy helped so much. Those therapists are a gift from the Lord. They are gifted in so many ways that I am not gifted, and did things with her. And so going to therapy was fantastic. So getting her in and getting early intervention was also key for her as well. But diffusing essential oils daily was a must.